are listening to the Ranch Hand Podcast.
How's it
Hey there.
going?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good.
I might have to move this.
You're, no worries.
I don't know what to do here.
Lighting can always be fun to figure out.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I just want to start by thanking you for coming and talking to me. I appreciate it. Emmett gave me your number, so um, he was gracious enough to let me reach out, and so I appreciate you talking with me for a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Jayce. You're Noah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good to meet you.
So Jayce, I guess, well, there's a lot of things because I was looking at your website. I guess we'll start with I want to know a little more about the history of your family because it was pretty interesting with the whole outlaw thing and whatnot. So what is, I guess, your family history that got you to North Dakota?
Yeah, I'll do my best, I guess. Um I way back when I had a ancestor. His name was Deacon John Doan, and he was one of the first to arrive at Plymouth Rock after the Mayflower, but one of the very first ones then. And eventually they ended up in Pennsylvania. They were Quakers and they were rebels against the American Revolution. And there was a few different brothers. A couple of them got hanged. My relative did not, or my ancestor did not.
Hmm.
Fled to Canada. I guess there's some documentation or rumors. We used to have a letter somewhere that said that they were pirates then on the Great Lakes,
Oh,
and, and so I don't know what they were really. I guess that was their profession, but for however long they were there, and then my great great grandpa was born. He was a farmer in Ontario and came down to Kansas in like 1880 and then came back up to Dakota Territory and homesteaded in 1882. We have all the documentation to support that.
oh, okay. So they moved around a lot. I'm actually from Wisconsin originally, so it's kind of funny that they're up in the Great Lakes area. Very
Yeah,
pretty area, so I guess it's a good place to run away to if you're wanted.
right. Well, and I guess they needed to get out of the newly formed United States or whatnot, and so Canada offered some solace or whatever, and then yeah, just whatever profession on the lakes. So
Gotcha. Okay. And then they moved out to North Dakota and then homesteaded. So then when did the whole cattle and things like that start coming into play?
he homesteaded in 1882. North Dakota became a state in 1889. Started just with 160 acres, which is what the Homestead Act granted, and then he submitted a tree claim, which gave him another 160 acres, so he was up to 320. Gradually started increasing more land. I'm sure back then they didn't have. I mean, there were still Indians around and everything.
Hmm.
Sitting Bull hadn't even surrendered yet at that time, so there was. I mean, it was still the Wild West, but I'm sure they were pretty impoverished. I guess they didn't have a lot. Um, I don't know when they necessarily started with. I'm sure they had some cows, some milk cows, and maybe some beef cows at that time. But he ended up moving to Sacramento, California, for a daughter that had tuberculosis. He needed to get to a drier climate. And so when my great grandpa took over, he's kind of the one that really expanded the
Hmm.
ranch. That was really during the Great Depression. He bought land for $1 an acre when people didn't think it was worth a dime. So and he built a good chunk of this place, and it's grown considerably since.
Okay. Man, $1 an acre. That sounds super nice. That would be a
Yeah,
dream.
right. Well, and there was a lot. I mean, it was the Great Depression. He worked three different jobs to try and keep the land, and there was a lot of times. I shouldn't say a lot of times, a couple times where he thought he was going to lose the land, so he went out and tore down fences on some of the pastures, and then was able to scrape up enough money to pay the taxes, and
Hmm,
had to put the fence back up.
that's cool. Yeah, that's so your great you said your great grandpa?
That would have been my great grandpa. I'm the
Okay.
fifth generation here.
Okay, so your great grandpa got it started. So did he start with just cattle or because I know you have a bunch of different areas that I'd love to talk about, but I guess we'll get the history first.
Sure, yeah. So my great grandpa is the one that kind of really expanded it. My great great grandpa was the one that homesteaded, but um, yeah, as far as we know, he was the one that really got into cattle. He's the one that kind of named it Blackleg Ranch. If you're familiar at all with cattle, blackleg's actually a disease, a really contagious cattle
Oh.
disease, and so we're named think with a pretty bad disease. But he was a jokester and a character that he everybody at that time had Hereford cattle, and
Mm-hmm.
he was one of the first to bring Black Angus into this area of North Dakota. And so there's a lot of stories of neighbors just really spiting black cattle and calling them the black-legged SOBs or whatever. And so he was a character, and he named it the Blackleg Ranch after that.
That's actually really funny. Okay, so he started with cattle. When did buffalo come into play? Or I mean bison, sorry, that's the correct term.
Yeah, no, we're gonna call them buffalo. I mean, that's what the Indians call them, and we're part Indian ourselves, and so I have no problem calling them buffalo. But when I graduated college in 2016, which was from Montana State University in Bozeman,
Hmm.
I came back, and I already had two other brothers back as well as my dad, and we were trying to figure out. I had always kind of anticipated taking over the cattle operation, but you need to diversify a little bit more if you're going to support multiple families on the operation. So we were just looking at how we could continue to improve our bottom line and diversify and create more income for us. And in 2018, we started with just 5 bred heifers and a bull, and it's grown to several hundred since.
Okay. What is the biggest difference raising cattle versus buffalo? Is there a big difference? Like, what is that?
I was pretty naive when uh, they're both ruminants. They're both. I don't know if buffalo's considered a bovine, but they're pretty much closely related, I guess. So I didn't think there would be quite a bit of a learning curve, but initially I was able to keep them in just with cow fences and stuff, just kind of using the facilities that we had. And then as they aged a little bit, they got a little more rambunctious, and
Okay.
and so I found out real fast that I had to have some better infrastructure and build better fences. You can't in the cattle industry when you're calving, you go out there, you tag the calf, you make sure it's all right, whatever. When the buffalo are calving, you don't want to be anywhere kind of near them because the moms get really protective and they will tend to kind of hunt you down and literally kill you if you mess with them too bad. So
Oh, shoot. Okay. Uh, so okay, that's good to know. If I ever tr decide to ever raise buffalo, that's good to know. Don't
just calving season, you don't really have to worry about them at the other times. But
gotcha. Okay. Do they eat, obviously they eat grass and things like that. Do you mostly just have them graze, like even your cattle and everything? I mean, obviously winter probably changes that a little bit, but what's their diet look like?
yeah, well, how we manage our place is in a holistic sense, and we kind of have three different goals, number one is to increase our soul health. Number two is to increase our quality of life. And number three, the biggest expense on cattle producers in the Northern Plains is winter feed costs. So if we could decrease our feed costs, it just helps our bottom line. So we try and graze as long as we can, and we'll plant supplemental cover crops and different things like that. Now, obviously, we're in North Dakota, so we get some cold temperatures and we can get quite a bit of snow. So we'll supplement with hay if we need to or whatnot. The buffalo, if if they if we had stockpiled pasture grass that we hadn't grazed all year, yeah, they'd be fine out there throughout the entire winter grazing. Um, your your animals might suffer a little bit. They might not be in the best shape coming out of winter, but they obviously were adapted to our climate and lived here for hundreds of thousands of years prior to human intervention. So
Okay, so it sounds like the buffalo are a little more hardy in a sense that they'll be able to survive more through the winter than the cattle.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, cattle, you have to put them behind windbreaks and have loafing sheds if you need to for sick calves and all that. Buffalo, you just kind of let nature do its work and let them acclimate themselves.
Hmm, that's interesting. That's cool. How many head of cattle and how many head of buffalo are you running?
We, through different times of the year, I mean, we have different operations. We also have a feed lot, and so we're feeding some cattle and stuff.
Hmm.
I guess probably at the peak time of how many head of cattle are here, there's probably a few thousand.
Okay.
And during the summer, the majority of those go out to grass. As far as buffalo, it's kind of all over the place because we're feeding some buffalo too, and then we got the cows. But to give you an accurate number would be impossible, but several hundred.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, how many acres do you own?
We're we own roughly 17,000, and then we lease another 3,000 or something like that.
Okay. And is that mostly grazing land, or I guess do you use it for other things as well?
We have some farmland too. Probably out of those 20,000 acres, maybe 14,000 is prairie, and the other six is farmland.
Okay, so the majority is that you're hoping to graze your animals a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the I've only really driven through North Dakota. I haven't spent a ton of time in North Dakota. So do you get pretty bad droughts there, like in the west, or is it you get a decent amount of rain, so your grass supply is pretty high throughout the year?
We're kind of fortunate, we're just off the Missouri River, and it's not quite as arid as Western North Dakota or Eastern Montana. I forget what our annual precip is. It might be 16 inches, somewhere between 14 and 16 inches of
Okay.
annual. So it's fair, I guess. Historically, it takes roughly 6 acres per cow year round, and when you get into Wisconsin, it's probably less than an acre per cow. Maybe just because there's a lot more rain and different things. When you get into eastern Montana and in some of those desertified areas, it takes upwards of 50 plus acres per cow. So
Yeah, I spent some time. I worked down in Arizona for summer, and yeah, they had like a ridiculous amount of acres because Arizona is obviously a desert, and so they were having to feed like 900 head on like I don't even remember how much it was, upper couple like 50,000 acres or something just to try and feed these cows.
yeah,
But they did not look healthy in my opinion. They looked very, very lean, I guess is a nice way to put it.
sure, yeah. Well, it's just different parts of the country. You're accustomed to whatever you're kind of dealt with, and those are the cards that we're dealt with. So
Gotcha. Um, so you went to school. What did you study at school?
I have a major in animal science, livestock management, and a minor in American Indian Studies.
Okay. Interesting. What is the American Indian Studies? Is that mostly history? Like, what does that actually entail?
I wish. No, you had to take some policy classes and law classes, and Indian art and different things. I mean, some of that stuff was extremely interesting. Um, the problem with that degree, and like I said, I'm married to a tribal member and we're part Indian too, but uh I remember in one of my classes they told me you can't watch any films that have John Wayne in it because John Wayne's racist. And I'm like, well, that's subjective, number one, but number two, that's kind of a pretty broad statement to make to a bunch of students. And so I just didn't appreciate some of that.
Okay, so just some of the politics that kind of come into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's sadly a lot of schools are kind of going that route, and
100%. And Bozeman, Montana is well above the curve as far as that goes.
well, my wife is going to grad school. She goes to DU. They might have the beat on that front for sure. But um, so then you came back after school. So let's get into, I guess, the different aspects of your operation. Because obviously you run cattle and you run buffalo, but then you also do a wedding venue stuff. You also do a brewery, and then you also do a hunting outfit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So we'll start with the wedding venue and then we can kind of transition into some of the other things. But yeah, let's start with I'm curious how the wedding venue idea came to be and how that all works.
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's three of us here as well as my father. So I have two other brothers, and historically, my oldest brother was going to come back, take over the cows, and he came back. Excuse me. He wasn't really. It wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't his cup of tea, but he just found that he wasn't maybe progressing in life as quickly as he wanted to, and so he started. And this is backwards from your question, but I have to do this chronologically. So
Oh, you're
he
good.
started the hunting business, and that was in like 2000, and it started very small, but we had some bunk houses here on the ranch that were for hired men that were sitting vacant and idle, and he was really good at kind of self-taught construction and completely revamped them and made them beautiful. And then my grandparents in the meantime kind of had passed away, and we had a hired man living in their house for a while. My sister and her husband had lived in that house for a while. Well, then it sat idle too, and the house was built in like 1912, so a lot of history in it. My grandpa was born on the kitchen table in that house, and
Well,
he died 10 feet away 80 years later. And my great grandpa died in that house, so they decided that they needed to remodel that, and they made it into our grand lodge. Well, in the meantime, and this might be like 2008, my other brother was working down in Texas for Anheuser-Busch, and they kind of decided that he needed to come back. He was sick of the corporate lifestyle and the fast-paced life down there, and come back and kind of help with the hunting business. And so he did that for a few years, and then kind of needed to spread his wings and decide where he kind of fit. And he got married, or got engaged, I guess, and wanted to have his wedding at the ranch, and just bought a tent, set it up, invited everybody. And this is a story that he tells. I don't really remember all this, but at that time, there was a few people that were present that said, "Hey, this was beautiful. Would you entertain the idea of maybe hosting us out here to get married?" Sure. And so that's kind of grown into what it is a little bit. There was an old Quonset here in the yard that we used to store corn in. I fed cattle out of it all through my childhood, and it had kind of fallen into a little bit of deterioration. And he took that, totally remodeled it, had the Amish come in, build a huge barn on the back of it, and created this quote unquote event center, that you can host corporate events or weddings or whatnot. And then he put a space with his Anheuser-Busch background. He put a space in the back to start a brewery. And so we have our or he has our brewery that we're using well water and locally sourced barley and all that, and it's actually the official microbrew of North Dakota State University. He's got one called Bison Light, and so we're kind of collaborating with NDSU a little bit.
That's cool. So it sounds like your brothers came back, they realized, oh, I don't really want to do this aspect, so I'm just gonna try something new, and then that's kind of how your operation has grown.
Maybe in a sense, it's just different opportunities that present themselves, and where can you make a little more money on some maybe advantages that we currently have. One of our biggest advantages is we're only a half hour from Bismarck, and Bismarck has a pretty large airport, I guess. And so if corporations want to come in here to hunt or whatever, it's not that far to get here. And so you just look at whatever kind of opportunities there are and figure out what advantages that you have and tap into them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. It also diversifies your ability to, which also helps bring, like you were saying, it just more opportunity for that income to come in.
Well, and if the cattle market's down, hopefully something else is running strong. And so
Hmm.
your whole operation isn't dependent on the backs of the cattle or vice versa. If they just for example, we had blue tongue come through 4 years ago and wipe out probably 98% of our white-tailed deer population. Well, I mean, they've shut the season down since then, which is great. I don't think anybody needs to hunt these deer for probably at least 10 years because we have none.
Hmm.
But my point is that just something unexpected like that, where all of a sudden you have no deer, you were relying on deer hunting income. And so hopefully you're diversified enough to where something else picks up the slack.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I feel like a lot of farmers and things they focus so much on one thing, but then when that one thing's not doing well, then it stuff gets really tight and you have to make ends meet and things that can be really complicated. So it's smart to actually diversify.
Well, 100%. And in agriculture, we've gone so much towards monocultures and all I shouldn't say all, but farms in the eastern kind of North Dakota or eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, whatever, historically they had, cows, maybe pigs. They farmed. A lot of those places don't have cows and they definitely don't have hogs anymore. And so you're just always moving towards a monoculture, and that in our opinion, isn't the smartest thing to do. I'm not saying it can't work, but that makes you have to rely a little bit more on government subsidies and that sort of stuff to be able to bail you out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So in North Dakota, is it mostly white-tailed deer that you hunt, or do you have other things you hunt as well? I guess what are your packages?
The biggest one is a pheasant waterfowl package,
Okay.
and that's kind of our bread and butter. The white-tailed deer was a big one, but that's went by the wayside. We have a ton of mule deer too, but we don't hunt them really. Coyote hunts, and then a big deal too is our buffalo hunts.
Mm.
Kind of the most humane way to harvest older animals is by doing what the Indians did for thousands of years and harvesting them on the prairie. When every time you handle those animals, you stress them out more and you risk injury to yourself and the animal. And it's just a lot more humane, in our opinion, to do it out on the prairie and ethically. So.
Oh yeah, I mean the if you think about it, most animals were when they were on the earth and around, they were just roaming free and whatever. So it's almost like you're giving them that chance to kind of get back to where they were.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all fair chase hunts as far as the buffalo go. A lot of places you might book a buffalo hunt and they'll say, all right, he's standing over there, pen number 3, go get him.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said the waterfowl and pheasant hunt. Do you raise the pheasants or is it all wild?
um, so we'll raise some females and different things just to try and propagate the population.
Mm.
We a couple years ago started on just a section of land, a preserve, And so you can hunt out of season and you can release birds on that. That's limited to that one 640-acre section of land. But other than that, everything's wild birds, I guess.
Okay. I'll just ask because my dad is got a new best friend. It's a dog, is how he put it to my mom, and he's training her to do some pheasant hunting. And we used to go, there's a place, I don't remember where we're at, but they raise them and then they just put them out in the fields, and things like that for them. But I was just curious because I don't know how the pheasant population is in North Dakota specifically. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an untapped resource for the majority of the state. North Dakota doesn't really get behind hunting like South Dakota does. The South Dakota government releases, I forget what the number is, but it's like several. I don't even want to speak out of term, but I want to say something over 1 million birds or something throughout the state.
oh,
And
wow.
hunting and tourism is one of South Dakota's biggest economic drivers. It actually might be the biggest, and obviously they have Mount Rushmore and all that stuff. But I'm just saying that South Dakota gets behind outfitters and hunting way more than North Dakota does. North Dakota kind of looks at them very negatively.
Okay. Is there a reason for that or?
It's just the old thing of people don't think that fee hunting is correct, and they think that posted land, they think that they don't have any opportunities to hunt anymore. And my point is always, well, come out in the summer and ask us if we need some assistance doing stuff. Come out for branding. Come out and help us stack some hay. Don't show up on my doorstep the opening day of season and then get mad at me when I say no, sorry.
Yeah.
It's landowner relationships have gone by the wayside, and people are very bitter about that stuff. And North Dakota just is extremely traditional in that sense, to where they then blame landowners for no access. And I mean, when I drive down a section line and I see beer cans thrown out on the side, people wonder why things are posted. So
Gotcha. Have you had people come up onto your doorstep and just expect to be able to go hunt on it?
not so much anymore because they know kind of what we do out here now. But 5 years ago, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's one every once in a while, and there's still people that poach. But
That's crazy. That's such a crazy thought to think that people will just feel that entitled to just be able to come to your land and be able to hunt it. That's crazy.
yeah, they think that hunting is a right, and in all reality, it's a privilege, and you need to follow laws, number one, but you need to create some relationships with people to make sure that you have that privilege to be able to hunt.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's such a theme in the world is everybody just expects everything to be given to them and that it's owed to them for some reason. I don't know why. That's
Yeah.
probably a good psychological study of some kind that of why people expect everything to be for them.
Yeah.
Because
No,
yeah.
100%.
I mean, I love hunting. I would love to do it more, but I would never go and just expect to be able to hunt on somebody's land. I would expect there would have to be some relationship built in some facet, like you were saying, like, hey, come help us brand or something like that. Like, become a acquaintance, fellowship some way. Because yeah,
Right.
that's crazy.
Well, and obviously there's different circumstances and situations, but you always get the same story time after time after time, and so not everybody's got the same story. So you catch on pretty quick.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, yeah, that's crazy. I would never have. That would not be my first thought, but okay. Um, so how many, okay, now I'm gonna switch gears to your weddings. How many weddings do you have at your ranch a year on average?
I wouldn't even be able to tell you. And it's not like it's some huge astronomical number. It's just my brother. That's his kind of bread and butter, and I don't have much involvement in that other than I see them happening. So mostly during the summer, I guess, kind of every weekend, one a weekend. And as far as I know, it's a package deal where they have lodging and kind of Friday, Saturday, Sunday sort of a deal. So you figure 4 months, 4 decent months throughout the summer that aren't bitter cold, maybe 16 to 20 weddings. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I was just curious. Yeah. Um, okay. Now, since you're more the cattle buffalo guy, we could talk more about that. Do you process them or do you ship that out to somebody else? Like, how do you process their meat and things like that?
We had our own meat label, or have our own meat label, Blackleg Ranch Meats. Um, the direction that that business went was 100% grass fed, grass finished.
Okay.
So earlier, we have a feedlot that's an entirely different business than what our meat label is. Um, the problem, and so we were direct marketing. The problem was that you have to follow all of these strict rules and regulations with the USDA, and North Dakota does not have many USDA processors, and so you have to drive long distances to get your animals processed under federal inspection. Now we can sell bulk under state inspection, and we're fortunate that we have a plant not too far away from the ranch. My wife was running that, or is running that, and then we had three children within the course of pretty much 3 years, and so we she has not a lot of time, I guess, and
Hmm.
so we're kind of maybe deviating away a little bit from that. Still offering some, but maybe not to the extent that we were.
Okay. Well, it is I guess, upside and downside of processing the meat and packaging it yourself and sending it out that way.
Well, we couldn't process it and package it
Like,
without being inspected, but the upside, obviously, just to direct marketing is you're hoping to get a premium for your product. Honestly, right now with cattle prices being at historic highs, I can take animals to the sale barn and get more money than I can for direct marketing because we prices rose so fast, and that hasn't really been reflective in the grocery stores to the extent of what live animals cost yet. So when we raise our prices on our finished product and then the consumer balks at that, I'm like, well, I don't know what to say. I can't lose money on the animal. So it's kind of a catch 22 right now, and to where I can get more money taking them to the sale barn.
mhm.
Prices aren't sustainable at this level forever, so they will come back down, and that's where the opportunity is when the cattle market comes back down and you're able to get a premium for your product. But it doesn't come without a lot of work and marketing and time. And so is it all worth it in the end? I don't know. There's always people willing to undercut you, and the business is extremely cutthroat. And then you always, like I said, North Dakota is extremely traditional and definitely not our market. You always have the people that, well, I can get beef from my uncle's cousin's grandma for pennies on the dollar. Well, go do it. Or somebody will come up and say, well, that's not, I can go to Walmart and get it for cheaper. Great, go to Walmart. You need to shop at Walmart for the course of your life because you're not my customer. And
Hmm.
so, Walmart's got their segment of the population, and that's fine. We are trying to go after a different segment of the population that's more health conscientious and different things like that. Wants source verified meat. Um, you know, just wants a story behind their animal and a face behind the product.
Yeah. No, I mean I personally I do like meat like that preferably. I mean, I don't like buying Walmart, but it's a lot of times the cheaper option. So,
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a time and place for both, in my opinion.
yeah. I am curious how much like pounds versus a cow versus a buffalo, how much meat do you get off compared to each other? Do you know that?
Yeah, you just figure 60% of the live weight.
Okay. Do buffalo yield more or less than a Angus?
I mean, their bone structures, they're a lot more bony. I just took a semi load to um, North Dakota is fortunate that we have an actual large scale buffalo processing plant in New Rockford, North Dakota. So I can take semi loads there at a time, not under my label, but I literally just sell them the animal, and they do with it what they need. But I just did that, and I got the kill slip, and I do not remember what. I want to say it was somewhere between 50 and 60%.
Okay.
And those were on heifers, so a bull might be a little higher. But
Okay. I was just curious. I just wondered if there was a big difference in the amount of you're about able to get off each.
no, not in my experiences. I guess I always shoot 60%.
Okay. For buffalo, is there any, obviously the meat, do you use any other parts of the body like a cow at all?
Yeah, the organs. There's a big market on the organs, the heart, liver, even the spleen, pancreas, kidney. There's just different markets on all that stuff. Um, Oxtail. There's it's extremely expensive to tan a hide, but there'd be markets on that, or if you wanted to sell the skulls,
Hmm.
um, tongue. There's a market on the tongue. Just a lot of Indians will take the shedded hair and they'll make stuff out of it. So there's different things that you can do.
Okay. Interesting. Man, buffalo sounds pretty similar to a cow in a lot of ways. They just sound a little hardier is the biggest difference.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why in North there's South Dakota's number one buffalo producing state in the nation, and I think North Dakota's top five. It's just why the cattle industry compared to the buffalo industry are very different, but it's I guess why there's quite a few buffalo producers in this part of the world. But just out of perspective, the buffalo industry processes 50,000 head of buffalo per year. The cattle industry processes 50,000 head of cattle per day. So it's extremely different.
Yeah, that's that's a lot of meat being processed.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so your brothers and your dad basically run everything, and then it sounds like your wives help out with some certain things. Do you do branding and stuff as a family? Is that a pretty family event, I guess you could say?
Yeah, it's kind of a big focal point of the summer. It's always fun. We still get all the neighbors and family and friends together and have a big quote unquote roundup and a big party branding. We rope them off horseback and drag them to the fire, and so we get a lot of help to where we can go through all the cows literally just in a morning. If we start at daybreak, we'll be done by at latest 1 o'clock before kind of the heat of the day sets in. But yeah, it's an extremely fun part. My mom and my wife will pretty much cook everything, and yeah, the other wives kind of help in where they fit.
Okay, cool. No, that's super nice that you get it done in one day. That's a big time saver for sure.
Yeah.
Um, oh, what was I gonna, I was gonna ask something. Um, oh, dang it. What was I? Well, I forgot. Well, maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so man, that's gonna bug me. What was it? I was literally gonna ask a question that was related to that, and I forgot it. Oh well.
You remember when we hang up?
Yeah, that's probably. I'll just text you and you can respond. Um, so how old are your girls? I don't remember if I asked that. Or
My
kids.
my
Sorry.
yeah, I have three boys.
Oh, okay.
The oldest is 4, and I have a set of twins, and they're 2.
Okay. So they're the fun ages where they're the 4-year-old's a fun age.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, every day is easier than the last. It's we had 3 under 3, and so it was kind of touch and go there for a while. Just it was pretty stressful, but
Yeah,
every day is easier than the last.
gotcha. Okay, I remember my question, so this is good. Um, do you do any rodeo stuff with your brothers or
No, my sister was Miss Rodeo North Dakota and rodeoed when she was younger, and then my brother-in-law was a calf roper, and they went to the University of Wyoming and rodeoed there, and then I went to Montana State on a rodeo scholarship, and I I guess I'm still rodeoing amateurly and professionally, but no, my brothers did very introductory rodeo stuff, I guess, but
Okay. What do
my
you what do you do? Do you do team roping? Like what?
no steer wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never tried actually steer wrestling. I've only never wrestled a calf, which made me really tired, and I had to take a little breather there for a second trying to wrestle one, but I can't rope worth crap, so
Yeah, there's actually yes, this a picture of me last year at Cheyenne, Wyoming at the Frontier Days. So
yeah, that's cool. I'd love to try it sometime. I'm not a good enough horseback rider. My wife likes to make fun of me. She's like, "You're so attractive until you get on the horse, and then I find you less attractive." So I'm like,
bounce around, yeah.
yeah, I've gotten better, but yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, that's cool. That would be cool to learn how to steer wrestle. But is it pretty hard? I don't know really how to do it. But how does it? Obviously, you come out of a gate and you're chasing it. How do you get in position to be able to grab it, and how do you grab it? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's all finesse and fundamentals and technique. I mean, to really get good at it, obviously, but I guess yeah, so you're on one side, you have a hazer on the other that keeps the steer that's in the middle straight.
Hmm.
You're um, people compare it to jumping off onto your mailbox from a pickup, and yeah, you just got to get down at the right time and I guess grab the horn with your crook of your right arm, grab the other horn with your left wrist, and then your horse carries you by, and you flip it over.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the crude way of putting it, but there's a lot to it.
There's more art to it for sure. Yeah. Um, so I'm curious because you had Emmett come out and work on your ranch. How many people do you have come do that where they come and work for you like for an extended period of time?
Generally, two or three a summer. I think we've had upwards of five. It just gets to be a lot because Emmett was very good and came from a farm and kind of had some common sense about him, and kind of had some background to the agricultural lifestyle. But when you have multiple people that maybe don't, then what you tend to do is just babysit and run around and fix things that they did. But this year we're having two students. One's from Cal Poly, and the other one's from the University of Wyoming.
Okay. And I guess it probably depends on their experience level, but what do you usually on average have them doing on the ranch?
Kind of day to day ranch activities. We don't expect them to do any more than we do. Um, it's a learning experience. It's an internship, so obviously we got to get some work out of them. But they're able to go see tours and workshops and experience different things as far as if there's soil health things going on, or if they want to go tour a large scale feedlot, we'll get them in the correct hands to be able to do so. Or if they want to go tour a dairy, we'll get them in the correct hands to do so. So it's more so just a summer to gain some experience for the rest of your life because they'll probably never find themselves in North Dakota again.
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually an internship, I guess, is a better word for it then, obviously,
Yep.
than
Yep.
like a rant like a little
Some,
distinguished poop shoveler.
no, no, not at all. I mean, there's probably some jobs that aren't the most luxurious, but for the most part, they fit in really well. And we have to put up a lot of hay and stuff, and so they're right there beside us in the driving a tractor and baling hay or raking hay or whatever. So
Gotcha. No, that's cool. And is it on average you have about two a year?
Yeah, for the last couple years, I have been. And Emmett was here for a full year, so he was kind of an exception too, in that he I had two interns as well as him while he was here, but he was here for such a extended period of time that he really fit in well, and once he kind of knew the ropes and I didn't have to give him day-to-day duties. I mean, it really was hard seeing him go because he fit in really well.
Gotcha. Is it mostly over the summer? Is that where it is? Just a summer internship?
Yeah, I made it August.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that makes sense. Um, yeah, no, that's I remember Emmett was talking about. He's like, yeah, they do all this stuff. I'm like, that's a lot of different hats. I wonder how it like all works, but it makes a lot more sense once you break it down that kind of each brother kind of covers a different aspect and is an expert in that aspect. So,
Yeah, and we're all kind of in charge of different employees on each segment of our operation. So it all kind of if we don't kill each other in the process, it all works.
yeah. Well, there's those days you just wrestle it out or something, right? And then call it even and make up and eat dinner together and call it good.
Yeah, well, and I'm a little bit different in that I'm 10 years younger than my next sibling, so I'm kind of the baby by a long shot. But yeah, it's all good. So
Yeah. No, that's cool. And, it's always nice to have family-run organizations, I think, in the US, because that's kind of a dying breed, you could say.
yeah, well, and there's some statistic that I forget by what generation all family. So by the second generation, only like 50% of family farms and ranches remain, and by the third, it's down to like five or something. Like
Oh,
it
wow.
goes drastically down. And so we're fortunate to where obviously our children are the sixth now, which they're not in any management form yet. But
Yeah, no, that's cool. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have. I know you're probably busy. It's getting close to summertime, so you're gonna be having some things come up. But I appreciate you talking to me for a little bit, and I guess maybe I can convince my dad to we'll make it out there and do a bird hunt or something on your ranch. We might bring our own dog to see if she can do it because he's training her on that. But it'll
yeah,
be
sure. Where do I find this?
So I'll let you know. I haven't posted yet because I need to do some marketing for it before I start posting, and I've been just building up for so I can have a few videos in my pocket before I start posting.
Right.
It's called The Ranch Hand. Um, it'll be a YouTube channel and a podcast, which when I go to post this specific episode, I'll make sure to text you or let you know, hey, I'm posting our conversation so that way you can know. And if you want to use it for marketing or anything, be my
Awesome.
guest. And if I didn't do it justice, you can let me know and I can go back and edit it or something. So, but
Sweet.
but yeah, no, I appreciate you taking a little time out of your afternoon to come talk to me, and I learned a lot, which was good because I don't know everything. So,
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate it too. And yeah, hopefully it was worth it. And yeah, we'll just be in touch.
yeah, for sure. And if I'm ever in North Dakota and my wife and I happen to be passing through and you're doing some calving or something, maybe we'll stop by and help out on our way out.
Yeah, there you go. It sounds good.
But all right, well, I'll let you go. It was nice talking to you and put a name to the face.
Yeah, absolutely. Good talking to you too. We'll talk later.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching or listening to this show. If you're enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, and even share with a friend. And we will see you next time on the Ranch Hand Show, where we will continue to grow our plans.